Forrest Gump is a 1994 American comedy-drama film directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Eric Roth. It is based on the 1986 novel of the same name by Winston Groom and stars Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Gary Sinise, Michael T. Williamson, and Sally Field. The story depicts several decades in the life of Forrest Gump. Hanks, a slow-witted but kind-hearted man from Alabama who witnesses and unwittingly influences several defining historical events in the 20th century United States. The film differs substantially from the novel. Catch Me If You Can is a 2002 American biographical crime film directed and produced by Steven Spielberg from a screenplay by Jeff Nathanson. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, with Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen and Natalie Bay in supporting roles. The film is based on the life of Frank Abagnale, who, before his 19th birthday, successfully performed cons worth millions of dollars by posing as a Pan American World Airways pilot, a Georgia doctor and a Louisiana parish prosecutor. His foremost crime was check fraud. He became so highly skilled that the FBI later turned to him for help catching other check forgers. Full Metal Jacket is a 1987 war film directed, co-written, and produced by Stanley Kubrick and starring Matthew Modine, Arlie May, Vincent D'Onofrio and Adam Baldwin. The screenplay by Kubrick, Michael Herr, and Gustav Hasford was based on Hasford's novel The Short Timers. The storyline follows a platoon of U.S. Marines through their boot camp training in Marine Corps Recruit Depot Paris Island, South Carolina, primarily focusing on two privates, Joker and Pyle, who struggle under their abusive drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, and the experiences of two of the platoon's Marines in Vietnamese cities of Da Nang and Hue during the Tet Offensive of the Vietnam War. The film's title refers to the full metal jacket bullet used by military servicemen. The film was released in the United States on June 26, 1987. Dirty Dancing is a 1987 American romantic drama dance film written by Eleanor Bergstein, produced by Linda Gottlieb, and directed by Emil Ardolino. It stars Jennifer Grey as Frances Baby Houseman, a young woman who falls in love with dance instructor Johnny Castle, Patrick Swayze, at a holiday resort. Platoon is a 1986 American war film written and directed by Oliver Stone, starring Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Charlie Sheen, Keith David, Kevin Dillon, John C. McGinley, Forrest Whitaker, and Johnny Depp. It is the first film of a trilogy of Vietnam War films directed by Stone, followed by Born on the 4th of July and Heaven and Earth. The film, based on Stone's experience from the war, follows a U.S. Army volunteer, Sheen, serving in Vietnam while his platoon sergeant and his squad leader, Berenger and Dafoe, argue over the morality in the platoon and the conduct of the war. The Help is a 2011 period drama film written and directed by Tate Taylor and based on Catherine Stockett's 2009 novel of the same name. The film features an ensemble cast, including Jessica Chastain, Viola Davis, Bryce Dallas Howard, Allison Janney, Octavia Spencer, and Emma Stone. The film and novel recount the story of a young white woman and aspiring journalist Eugenia Skeeter Phelan. The story focuses on her relationship with two black maids, Abilene Clark and Minnie Jackson, during the Civil Rights Movement in 1963 Jackson, Mississippi. In an attempt to become a legitimate journalist and writer, Skeeter decides to write a book from the point of view of the maids, exposing the racism they are faced with as they work for white families. Black domestic workers in 1960s America were referred to as the Help, hence the title of the journalistic exposé, the novel and the film. Little Shop of Horrors is a 1986 American horror comedy musical film directed by Frank Oz. It is a film adaptation of the 1982 off-Broadway musical comedy of the same name by composer Alan Menken and writer Howard Ashman, which in turn was based on the 1960 film The Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Roger Corman, about a geeky florist shop worker who finds out his Venus flytrap can speak. The film stars Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene, Vincent Gardenia, Steve Martin, and Levi Stubbs as the voice of Audrey II. The film also featured special appearances by Jim Belushi, John Candy, Christopher Guest, and Bill Murray. It was produced by David Geffen through the Geffen Company and released by Warner Brothers on December 19, 1986. JFK is a 1991 American political thriller film directed by Oliver Stone. It examines the events leading to the assassination of United States President John F. Kennedy and alleged cover-up through the eyes of former New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, Kevin Costner. Garrison filed charges against New Orleans businessmen Clay Shaw, Tommy Lee Jones, for his alleged participation in a conspiracy to assassinate the president, for which Lee Harvey Oswald, Gary Oldman, was found responsible by the Warren Commission. The film was adapted by Stone and Zachary Sklar from the books On the Trail of the Assassins, 1988, by Jim Garrison and Crossfire, The Plot That Killed Kennedy, 1989, by Jim Mars. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a 2019 comedy-drama film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Produced by Columbia Pictures, Bona Film Group, Heyday Films, and Visione Romantica and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, it is a co-production between the United States, United Kingdom, and China. It features a large ensemble cast led by Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. Set in 1969 Los Angeles, the film follows an actor and his stunt double as they navigate the changing film industry, and features multiple storylines in a modern fairy tale tribute to the final moments of Hollywood's golden age. Good Morning, Vietnam is a 1987 American comedy-drama war film written by Mitch Markowitz and directed by Barry Levinson. Set in Saigon in 1965, during the Vietnam War, the film stars Robin Williams as a radio DJ on Armed Forces radio service, who proves hugely popular with the troops, but infuriates his superiors with what they call his irreverent tendency. The story is loosely based on the experiences of AFRS radio DJ Adrian Cronauer. National Lampoon's Animal House is a 1978 American sex comedy film directed by John Landis and written by Harold Ramis, Douglas Kenney, and Chris Miller. It stars John Belushi, Peter Riegert, Tim Matheson, John Vernon, Verna Bloom, Thomas Hulse, Stephen Furst, and Donald Sutherland. The film is about a troublemaking fraternity whose members challenge the authority of the dean of the fictional Faber College. Selma is a 2014 historical drama film directed by Ava DuVernay and written by Paul Webb. It is based on the 1965 Selma to Montgomery voting rights marches initiated and directed by James Bevel and led by Martin Luther King Jr., Hosea Williams, and John Lewis. The film stars actors David Oyelowo as King, Tom Wilkinson as President Lyndon B. Johnson, Tim Roth as George Wallace, Carmen Ejogo as Coretta Scott King, and Common as Bevel. A Hard Day's Night is a 1964 musical comedy film directed by Richard Lester and starring the English rock band The Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, during the height of Beatlemania. It was written by Alan Owen and originally released by United Artists. The film portrays 36 hours in the lives of the group. The film was a financial and critical success. 40 years after its release, Time magazine rated it as one of the 100 all-time great films. Ray is a 2004 American biographical film focusing on 30 years in the life of rhythm and blues musician Ray Charles. The independently produced film was written, produced, and directed by Taylor Hackford, and stars Jamie Foxx in the title role. It received critical acclaim and was a box office success. Foxx received an Oscar for Best Actor for his performance as well as the Golden Globe, BAFTA, Screen Actors Guild, and Critics' Choice Awards, becoming the second actor to win all 5 major lead actor awards for the same performance, and the only one to win the Golden Globe in the musical or comedy category. Born on the 4th of July is a 1989 American biographical war drama film based on the eponymous 1976 autobiography by Ron Kovich. Directed by Oliver Stone, and written by Stone and Kovich, it stars Tom Cruise, Keira Sedgwick, Raymond J. Barry, Jerry Levine, Frank Whaley, and Willem Dafoe. The film depicts the life of Kovich, Cruise, over a 20-year period, detailing his childhood, his military service and paralysis during the Vietnam War, and his transition to anti-war activism. It is the second installment in Stone's trilogy of films about the Vietnam War, following Platoon and preceding Heaven and Earth. The Right Stuff is a 1983 American epic historical drama film written and directed by Philip Kaufman. It was adapted from Tom Wolfe's best-selling 1979 book of the same name about the Navy, Marine and Air Force test pilots who were involved in aeronautical research at Edwards Air Force Base, California, as well as the Mercury 7, the 7 military pilots who were selected to be the astronauts for Project Mercury, the first human spaceflight by the United States. The film was written and directed by Philip Kaufman and stars Ed Harris, Scott Glenn, Sam Shepard, Fred Ward, Dennis Quaid, and Barbara Hershey. Levon Helm narrates, and plays Air Force test pilot Jack Ridley. Capote is a 2005 biographical film about Truman Capote directed by Bennett Miller. It follows the events during the writing of Capote's 1966 nonfiction book In Cold Blood. Philip Seymour Hoffman won several awards, including the Academy Award for Best Actor, for his critically acclaimed portrayal of the title character. The film was based on Gerald Clark's 1988 biography Capote. It was filmed mostly in Manitoba in the autumn of 2004 and released September 30, 2005, coinciding with Capote's birthday. Dreamgirls is a 2006 American musical drama film written and directed by Bill Condon and jointly produced and released by DreamWorks Pictures and Paramount Pictures. Adapted from the 1981 Broadway musical of the same name by composer Henry Krieger and lyricist/librettist Tom Eyen, Dreamgirls is a film à clef, a work of fiction taking strong inspiration from the history of the Motown record label and one of its acts, the Supremes. The story follows the history and evolution of American R&B music during the 1960s and 1970s through the eyes of a Detroit, Michigan girl group known as the Dreams and their manipulative record executive. Malcolm X is a 1992 American epic biographical drama film about the African-American activist Malcolm X, directed and co-written by Spike Lee. The film stars Denzel Washington in the title role, as well as Angela Bassett, Albert Hall, Al Freeman Jr., and Delroy Lindo. Lee has a supporting role, while Black Panther Party co-founder Bobby Seale, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and future South Africa President Nelson Mandela make cameo appearances. This is the second of 4 film collaborations between Washington and Lee. Sleepers is a 1996 American legal crime drama film written, produced, and directed by Barry Levinson, and based on Lorenzo Carcaterra's 1995 novel of the same name. The film stars Kevin Bacon, Jason Patric, Brad Pitt, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Minnie Driver, and Vittorio Gassman. Mermaids is a 1990 American family comedy drama film directed by Richard Benjamin, and starring Cher, Bob Hoskins, Winona Ryder, Michael Schoeffling, and Christina Ricci in her film debut. Set in the early 1960s, its plot follows an erotic teenage girl who moves with her wayward mother and young sister to a small town in Massachusetts. It is based on the 1986 novel of the same name by Patty Dan. Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story is a 2007 American comedy film directed by Jake Kasdan, and written by Kasdan and co-producer Judd Apatow. It stars John C. Reilly, Jenna Fischer, Tim Meadows, and Kristen Wiig. A parody of the biopic genre, Walk Hard is the story of a fictional early rock and roll star played by Reilly. Mr. Holland's Opus is a 1995 American drama film directed by Stephen Herrick, produced by Ted Field, Robert W. Court, and Michael Nolan, and written by Patrick Sheen Duncan. The film stars Richard Dreyfuss in the title role of Glenn Holland, a high school music teacher who aspires to write his own composition while struggling with a lack of quality time with his wife and profoundly deaf son. The cast also includes Glenn Headley, Olympia Dukakis, William H. Macy, and Jay Thomas. 13 Days is a 2000 American historical political thriller film directed by Roger Donaldson. It dramatizes the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, seen from the perspective of the U.S. political leadership. Kevin Costner stars as top White House assistant Kenneth P. O'Donnell, with Bruce Greenwood featured as President John F. Kennedy, Stephen Culp as Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, and Dylan Baker as Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara. The Magdalene Sisters is a 2002 Irish-British drama film written and directed by Peter Mullen, about three teenage girls who were sent to Magdalene asylums, also known as Magdalene laundries, homes for women who were labeled as fallen by their families or society. The homes were maintained by individual religious orders in the Roman Catholic Church in Ireland.